Hello world, welcome to my angry stuffed animal deck profile. So, first of all, we play three dogs. Dog is one of the best cards in the deck. He can search for basically any card you want at any time. He searches any Fluffal or Edge Imp Sabers. And it's on normal or special summon hard ones per turn. And he's also level 4, which comes up sometimes. Next, you play 3 Penguin. Penguin lets you special summon a Fluffal from your hand when he's on the field. It's a soft once per turn, so a lot of the time you can bring it back off of Cross Sheep and you can use its effect again to get extra materials. Also, if you fuse with him and he goes to the graveyard, you draw 2, discard 1, and you have multiple ways to plus off of having cards discarded in this deck. So he's also very, very good. Also level 4, so you can make rank 4 plays with these two. Next, 3 Bear. Bear's really good because he gets you to your Toy Vendor, which, if you've ever played against Fluffal, Toy Vendor is an obnoxious card. So, yeah, he's really good. You want to max out on him. And then I play 2 Sheep. A lot of people only play 1, but I like having the second for recovery play, because a lot of the time you can special it when you control a Fluffal, and then you can return a Fluffal monster other than itself to your hand, and then special summon an Edge Imp from the graveyard or your hand. So a lot of the time you'll start off with dog and then special this, return the dog to your hand so you have a recovery play for next turn. So by playing the second, you can do that for 2 turns, which is pretty strong. And then I play 2 Wings. This is pretty standard for now. Once you run out of your 3 Toy Vendors, this is just dead. And a lot of the time you'll run through multiple Toy Vendors in one turn, because between Foolish Burial Goods sending it and just randomly milling it, you can pretty easily go through all 3 Toy Vendors in 1 or 2 turns. And also he's a hard once per turn, so yeah, it just doesn't come up ever to use all 3. And then also I'm playing 1 Owl and 1 Cat. Owl lets you search for Poly on normal or special summon, or during your main phase you can pay 500 to fuse. Typically you want to search the Poly, but it does come up sometimes where you've milled all of your polymerizations, or you just happened to draw all of them. And so he gives you a way to fuse even after you've gone through all of those polymerizations. And then a Cat, when you fuse with it, can add back a polymerization so you can continue to fuse and climb up. A lot of the time what you'll do is you'll fuse with like this and one of your Fright Furs to summon Sabretooth, and then Sabretooth can summon the Fright Fur back, and then this adds back your Poly, and then you have the Poly either again for next turn or just to fuse with the Sabretooth and another Fluffal to make it for your rank 8. Yeah, so this is good. It's kind of situational, but that's why you only play 1. And then onto the Edge Imps. 3 Chain. Chain lets you search your best card in your whole deck. Fright for Patchwork. It also lets you search Fright for Fusion. So you pretty much always want to be able to see this. Any way that it goes to graveyard, you can search for a Fright for a card. So if you link it off, if you discard it for Twin Twisters, if you draw 2 discard for Penguin, you can discard this and search for Patchwork. If you fuse with it, it's really good, and it gives you a free +1. So yeah, you want to max out. And then I'm playing 2 Sabers because I'm playing a lot of Fright Furs in the extra deck. A lot of people only play 1, but I don't want to be forced into a situation where I have to Fright for Fusion with my only Sabers in grave and then not be able to make any Tigers later in the game. So yeah, I play 2 of this, and also you want to always have an Edge Imp and a Fluffal, and so sometimes you gotta make do with the Sabers. And then I play 3 Ash Blossoms for hand traps. There's not a whole lot of space in the deck for hand traps, and I feel like Ash is the most generic all-around hand trap, and I'm not really a huge fan of Nibiru at the moment. It feels like most decks can just play around it and play through it. Granted, those decks can also play through an Ash, but Ash isn't just completely dead against like your control matchups and stuff. You can always hit like a Pot of Desires or an Extravagance or whatever. So that's the thought process there, at least. And then for spells, I'm playing 3 Toy Vendor. This is one of the best cards in the deck. whenever it hits the graveyard, you can search for a Fluffal or a Sabers. And it's also just every turn you can discard a card, draw a card. If it's a Fluffal, you can special summon any monster from your deck or from your hand. So this lets you cycle through your deck faster, lets you plus off of your cards that go to grave. So discarding Wings for this is busted. Wings is just a +2. It's kind of crazy, honestly. Yeah, so you want to definitely max out on this. Then on to Fret for Patchwork. This card lets you search Polymerization and an Edgent card or an Edgent monster. So this is your typical search off of Edgent Chain. And then this also gets you to your Sabers if you need to make Tigers, or you can search a Chain for next turn. And also it gets you Polymerization, which is vital to this deck. Which, speaking of, you play 3 Polymerization. There's no reason to play Fusion Substitute because a lot of the time you're going to have to fuse from your hand because you don't want to have to waste your normal summon all the time. And also, a lot of the time you're using your normal summon to get a dog to the field so you can get to this. Yeah, so you want to be able to fuse as much as you can. Then 3 Foolish Burial Goods. It is a hard once per turn, but you need to have Fluffals in your hand, so being able to send your toy vendor to search for dog is very, very good. And then since you do plus pretty easily off of discarding something, Twin Twisters is pretty nice in this deck. I find that it doesn't really play through back row all that well a lot of the time, so having Twin Twister to help out with that is pretty nice. Also, it can come up where you Twin Twister your own toy vendor to get a search. That doesn't happen quite as often, but when it comes up, it's pretty important. And then also, I'm playing double Fright for Fusion, because again, I'm playing a lot more Fright Furs in the extra deck than I see most decks playing right now. Also, I am playing the Predaplant Verte Anaconda, so there's a play where you Fright for Fuse, and then you can make Anaconda later, and then you can send the second fusion to kind of cheat the system a little bit, because it just copies the effect, it doesn't copy the once per turn clause, so you're able to get out like another Kraken to get another free send, or make another Tiger at the end of the turn to get more free pops so you can attack directly and just end the duel right there. So that's the main deck. I haven't counted, it's either 40 or 41. And then on to the extra deck. 3 Fright for Sabertooth. You could honestly get away with playing 2. I haven't summoned all 3 that often, but when it comes up, it's pretty nice to have that recursion. When he's summoned, you can summon a Fright Fur from the graveyard. Typically, you're summoning back a Kraken, but yeah, and then also, so you must summon him with a Fright Fur and 1 or more Fluffal or Edgent monsters. So a lot of the time you're summoning him by fusing Kraken and whatever else, and then you summon the Sabertooth, and then Sabertooth can summon back the Kraken. He's also level 8, which synergizes with Kraken specifically to make rank 8s. And then for the other Fright Furs, playing 2 Kraken. Kraken's really, really good. He can attack twice, and once per turn, which is a soft once per turn. He can send a monster your opponent controls to the graveyard. It doesn't destroy, so it gets around a lot of protection. And when you do use that effect, he can't attack directly that turn. But again, these are both level 8s, so a lot of the time you're going to summon this back, send another thing, and then either overlay or you're going to punch over other monsters. It can still attack twice, it just can't attack directly. So yeah, Kraken is pretty nice. And then on to Tiger. I'm playing 3. You definitely could get away with less. I don't think I've ever actually summoned all 3, but it's nice to have the option because like I said earlier, this deck doesn't really play through back row all that well, I find, so one of your only ways to really play around it is to summon Tiger by using like usually a penguin or a cat, I believe, are the two. So that you can chain block this. You can make him chain link 1 and then penguin chain link 2 to draw, or chain link 2 cat to add back poly. And then they can't like solemn strike this. And then also I am playing 1 sheep. This card sucks. I'm going to cut this and find something else to play. I've never summoned this. So yeah, that's all the fusions. For links, play better sheep. This is, I summon this almost every game. This is really good. And then Anaconda is also super good. He can copy poly. He can copy Fright for Fusion. There's a lot of games where, you know, like I open a couple Fluffals and like a Sabers, and I don't have a way to fuse other than making this and then using poly by copying the effect. He does lock you from special summoning for the rest of the turn, but if you are going to just set pass anyways, this is pretty much always a better play. And then I also play Union Carrier because in the side deck I'm playing Dragon Buster for the extra deck lock. This doesn't really have too many applications aside from the side deck. Technically, you could summon this and then equip a chain to one of your dark fusions, and when the chain goes to grave, you get a search. So you could search for Fright for Fusion or Fright for Fusion or Fright for Patchwork on your opponent's turn if they kill your monster. But that's typically, if you're able to set that up, you probably had a better turn 1 play anyways. And then for the last link, I'm playing Appaloosa. You can spit out monsters pretty easily in this deck, so you can make her. I typically make her with Cross Sheep and like a Fluffal Sheep and like an Edge Chain. But yeah, being able to set her up with a couple of negates, typically alongside this, is what makes it so good. Because Kraken and Sabretooth are level 8, you can summon Sabretooth using the Kraken and then bring back Kraken, overlay for this, and then you make this underneath of Appaloosa, and it protects the Appaloosa from being attacked over. Also spell negate, which is pretty nice. And then for the last Xyz monster, I play Abyss Dweller. If your opponent forces you to go first, this is probably one of your best floodgate options in this deck. Typically you're making this with Penguin and Dog, or like a Penguin and an Edge Chain. If you do make this with Edge Chain, definitely detach the chain during your opponent's turn to get the search. So yeah, that's the extra deck. And for the side deck, I do play the Buster Dragon. You equip it off of Union Carrier to a dark monster. Typically, you're going to equip it underneath of a Sabretooth that was made with 3 or more materials so that it can't be destroyed by battle or card effects. Typically, your opponent's not going to have a main deck out to this, because most of the time the out is like a Trishula or a Unicorn, something along those lines, which they can't go into because of this. So they pretty much have to have like a Lightning Storm to wipe this out. Or, you know, Twin Twisters or Cosmic Cyclone or whatever, which most people aren't going to play against you because you're go second of TK deck. Anyways, if the Ash isn't going to be enough, I play the Droll on the side. Theoretically, this could be a Nibiru if you like that better, but I don't know. I didn't have extras lying around, and this seemed good enough. And then against decks that aren't going to play any back row, you can sight in the Gamma Seals for the Twin Twisters. Get rid of like Appaloosa or like another negate that you're having issues getting around. And then I'm also playing 3 Forbidden Chalice. I didn't want to play Dark Ruler no more, and this is theoretically good going first or second. You can just set it going first, and you have like an effect failure essentially. Or going second, you can also, like, if your opponent tries to dwell you can chain Chalice, and you're good to go. And then I'm also playing 2 Cosmic Cyclones, just for back row matchups, Mystic Mine. I don't want to have to deal with that. And then the last cards are Solemn Judgment for if I think my opponent's going to make me go first. Just because you can't always set up the Union Carrier combo, and you know, having this to back that combo up would be even better. So, in theory, it seems okay. But yeah, that is my Fluffal deck profile. Thank you.